What you have? I mean, a metal plate?
No metal plate. They just sewed it up. But every time I get a haircut, they learned many elite athletes are dyslexic or have other learning differences because they just poured themselves into what they could do physically, because that's almost like the only thing that we had. The only thing that we had to validate us, to give us some self-worth. And I think that that's the reason why it was so important to us to succeed.
Some sprints, some diving, some stretching. I mean, presumably stretching was a huge part of it, that flexibility.
Yeah, flexibility was very important for our sport. And so, a lot of stretching. I was a dancer before, so that was a big part of my training as well. Because anything you do really, whether it's running, whether it's diving, whether it's gymnastics, dance, it all has a rhythm.
You see, most of us in this room cannot relate to those movement patterns at all, and the closest I've ever come to that is falling over.
Off the bar stool.
It's hard to, once or twice. It's hard to relate to that movement pattern having a rhythm. It looks so dynamic and amazing, but there is a rhythm to that?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, there's a certain moment in time that you have to take a breath that supports your action. The greatest exertion of energy is on an exhale, and then expansion is an inhale. So it all kind of ties together, and that fluid motion. What I like to call it is that sliver of space between air and time.
So,
what the heck?
So it had been your life for 25 years or more.
Yeah.
But then didn't you, in '88 you stepped away for about 20 years from diving, is that more or less right? You moved away from diving as well?
And then I had a lot of, my background was theater, so I was really devoted to theater. I did Cinderella, I did None Said Amen, I did a one-man show, Darius and Jeffrey. So I did a lot of theater. Did a Breaking the Surface in we started in 1994, and it was published in 1995. So that took me on a whole nother journey.
Did you miss the diving, the training routine, the pressures of being an elite competitor? And attached to that, I want to ask whether or not you are a very competitive animal, or is diving, marathon running or racing is alongside people, gutting it out side by side, whereas you compete in isolation, but it is in a competition, which makes it slightly different.
Yeah, in Rio at the Olympic Games, and I was with Michael Johnson and Bart Connors at one dinner, and I feel that there's different types of athletes. I was a performer. I mean, it was more important to me that I perform well, that I win the judges over, that I win the crowds over, because that was my background. I was a performer. I performed in front of audiences, and I was talking to Michael and Bart, and I said, okay, do you view yourself as a competitor or a performer? Bart was a little bit non-committal, but Michael Johnson knew. He was like, I'm a competitor. I want the fastest person next to me, because that is what motivates me. And so I found that fascinating.
But your state of mind when you're standing on the board about to make a dive, I think that guy that just dived and got a good score.
No. I rarely looked at the scoreboard, rarely, because I knew that if I was looking to another individual as my competition, if they missed a dive, chances are I'd miss a dive. Because I'm only setting my goals to what my competition is. I wanted to set my goals higher. I didn't want to limit myself in what I could potentially achieve. And I think that's the reason why I was able to break 700 on 3-meter springboard and break 700 on 10-meter platform and win the World Championships by a record amount of points.
In running terms, you'd have been a front runner. You wouldn't have been in the pack running a tactical race. You'd have gone out and done your own thing.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. Greg, I'll open it up to questions now because I know that ladies and gentlemen here will have a lot of questions, I'm sure. Any questions?
I'm still alive.
Still alive? Yes. Do we have a mic?
Did we start with it?
Oh, sorry. Yep, sure. Okay, you go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, Greg. My
Hi.
name is Amitabh Das Sharma. I work with the Hindu newspaper. 4 Olympic golds and a silver. You're a man, a diver, whom no other man could match so far. So what has been the reason behind it? Like, why no one could match you so long?
Well, I think, I have to hand it to my coach, Ron O'Brien, because in order to keep, we didn't have the opportunity, because I was set up for 1988. I was world champion in 78, and so I was set up to do well in Moscow. And then when that was taken away from me, then I had to wait 4 more years. And so in that 4 years, my coach realized that in order for me to stay motivated, he started giving me new goals, which were break 700 on 3-meter springboard, the number of national titles that anybody's ever won in diving. And then I was going for number of national titles that any aquatic athlete had received. So he always kept me in line in looking forward to potential goals that I could shoot for myself. Nobody else was doing it. It was just him and me. And so those performance goals really kept me motivated.
Into diving, I mean, you could have taken up swimming, you could have taken up somebody with your kind of fitness and stuff.
Yeah.
Did that background in gymnastics sort of make diving a natural progression into when you forayed into sport?
I believe everything that I did leading up to my going into diving led up to that process, and really, I mean, it was my dream to make the Olympic team in gymnastics because that was my first love. But as it turned out, at 12 years old, I had Osney Slaughters, which prevented me from doing anything. My doctor said I had to quit everything, the dance, acrobatics, and gymnastics, and that I could continue diving. So all of that energy that was distributed to all of these other disciplines was focused now on one discipline. A year after that, I became world champion for my age group. And then 3 years after that, I was on my first Olympic team. So, and looking back realistically, I'm a little tall to be a gymnast.